wanted to do a quick little video. I just had an interesting back and forth with this dude on Instagram who I've been, he's considering buying a console, and we've just had a lot of back and forth. He's done a ton of research. Of course, I've done my research, and it got interesting because we were just like speccing systems, and I thought it was pretty interesting. Let me lower this a little bit. Obviously, you see I have the API box, and I have the SSL X-Desk. I have them working together to make a 32-channel analog mixing system, and I'm thrilled with that. But the perspective that we're kind of trying to capture is, like, if you're making the first leap into analog mixing, analog summing, what would be, well, more, let's be real, let's say mixing, not just summing. Like, what would be the best investment? What are some of the choice? There's so many choices out there. This guy was thinking about an Audient mixing console. It was a 4816. We're just looking at all the different options, and very quickly off the top of my head, I spec'd a very interesting system, I thought, which was, you've got, okay, so let's start with just the system that I spec'd, and then we'll talk about why and what the other choices are and everything. And I want this to be a very interactive video. I really hope people are going to jump in on the comments, because there's so many ways to slice this. There's so many ways to do this, and some of it's based on taste, some of it's based on budget, but it's fascinating to me to see what people come up with. So let's start with, so the guy was thinking about the Audient. That was not my first choice, and my basic feeling is this, that in general, I actually like summing setups in consoles. It's funny, I've watched the new AMS Neve 8424 get a lot of flack online because it doesn't come with preamps and it doesn't come with equalizers. They're like, oh, you're getting nothing. Well, no, you're not. There's a lot in that board. There's a hell of a lot in that board. And, I think that mixer, similar to the API, was made for producers that already have gear. Yes, the box comes with 8 preamps, but, only 8. And, and the Neve comes with 2, that's reasonable. They're figuring, like, you're set up to do, a stereo tracking session. Basically my feeling is there aren't a lot of mixing consoles in the world that I would want all the channels of exactly the same flavor. Maybe Dave Grohl's 80 series Neve, but that's about it. There aren't too many that's really would be my preference. I personally like having different flavors. I like mixing things up. You can see on my API, probably to the chagrin of API, I have different equalizers in the 500 series slots. I love that flexibility. I have 6 of these BAE 1073s, 2 of the Helios 5011s, and this isn't, and that's not a knock on API equalizers. I have plenty of those. I love those too. The reason I have this set up this way is because I wanted to make the X-Desk sort of a dedicated drum mixer, and I happen to prefer the API equalizers on drums, and the Neve style more on guitars and vocals. It's very much just a personal preference, and and that may change. Who knows? And that's the beauty of the 500 series stuff. You can swap it around. So again, it's very, very personal, but you know, one of the things I would point out, like as a perspective, this music's getting loud. By the way, we're listening in the background to Matt Dorsey's live concert that I was mixing on this system. But anyway, I think a way to put this to sort of get my perspective on it is like, so the Audient console, it's a very nice console, but like, so the mic preamps, you know, you're buying 16 Audient mic preamps. The company, claim that they're exactly the same preamp that's, you know, in their ASP 800 box, which frankly, there's 8 of those for $900. So 16 of those, you know, $1,800. And to my knowledge, they're not transformer based. You know, I mean, I had the ID 14 or whatever it is, you know, that's the 2-channel Audient. They're nice, you know, they're nice preamps, you know, they're very transparent, but that's not what I usually go for in a preamp. Like, I mean, I think every preamp I own has transformers in it, and then the only real difference is whether they're tube or not. You know, so anyway, so the preamp section of an Audient console is not a cost factor really, you know. And then you got equalizers, right? And that's fine too. But so my question is this, like, you know, do you love Audient equalizers? Is that a particular thing for you? Or do you love API equalizers or Neve or Helios or SSL? You know, I mean, it's like, I think what gets lost in buying a console is, you know, you're just buying these parts in a package, you know. So, you know, it's as if you bought it's as if you bought you know, a Honda CR-V kit as opposed to buying just a normal Honda CR-V. So let's put on another song. But you know, to that end, like, the answer for me is no. I never in my life, not once, have I said to myself, oh gee, I wish I owned some Audient equalizers. Maybe I would if I spent more time with them, but you know, I don't find myself, you know, drooling over the Sweetwater page to get Audient EQs. I do find myself doing that over Neve EQs and API EQs and Helios EQs. So, you know, my point is, yeah, you shouldn't give up getting the thing that's going to make you happy just to get it in a tight package like that. I don't think that's worth it, you know, particularly since, you know, you can do it other ways. Okay, so, you know, what other ways, right? Okay, so the API box, the console itself is I think it's a really good deal. You know, I mean, I got a particularly good price on it. I got it for $15,000 even, but whatever it is right now, $16,500. And you get 8 preamps, you get 2 527 compressors, right there, over $10,000 worth of processing. And then you get 24 channels of summing, you know, aux sends, there's DIs, the master channel section. You know, I think it's a great deal, but, you know, if I were to actually price what I have right here in front of me, it would be the price of the console plus the price of the equalizers. And even though there's only 8, you know, those are about $1,000 each, those equalizers. So, you know, even at the price that I paid, we're talking $23,000, right? So the way I look at it is, you know, to really, and that's only 8 EQs as well, right? So, and that's only 8 preamps, right? I mean, they're premium, they're amazing, but that's only 8 of each of those things. So, so I'm looking at, like, if somebody asked me to spec a system for them, and they were like, yeah, I want to spend about $20,000, but I want really premium analog mixing, right? It's kind of a dreamy song. I wonder if there's something a little more groovy. Hold on a second. I wish I knew. I mixed this a few weeks ago. I don't even remember. There's the single. Okay. This is a great R&B tune. Anyway, so what I'm looking toward, if I was starting from scratch and trying to spec $20,000 or so, around about, I'm looking more at this. And I know that SSL has the Big 6 console out right now, and I'm sure people love it. I'm sure it's great. SSL makes wonderful products. For me, I prefer this in a way, even though the price structure on the Big 6 is amazing. But I guess, I don't know, I think the Big 6 almost like puts too much into a little package, and for the price, I'm a little skeptical. I have to, I haven't sat with it, I haven't played with it yet, but to trust, the converters, equalizers on channels and the sort of stripped down bus compressor, it just doesn't feel like the real deal to me. I like this better, because I understand this insofar as I understand the price point and what you're getting for it, which is it's 8 channels on top, but it's inline. There's dual channels, so you've got your record sends and you've got your DAW returns, each on the channel, and with one button you flip them. You've got your aux sends, and then some nice touches on the X-Desk. You've got 2 stereo returns, which the API doesn't have. Excuse me. 2 pairs of monitors, talkback, all that. The sound quality is stunning. I mean, it's on par with the API. It's just different flavor, but the headroom is tremendous, and it's an honest to God SSL. And I know it's discontinued, but the reason I'm talking about this is they're still pretty readily available. You can find them on Reverb. I bought mine used from Vintage King, and I think they have another one right now. So what I'm looking at is these are designed, and actually the API does this too. This can link. So if you can find 2 of these, right? Used, they're going from a little under 2,000 from just Joe Schmo on Reverb to, I think I paid about 23 or so, or something like that, maybe 24 from Vintage King, but I got a warranty with it too. And also I got the peace of mind of buying from Vintage King. Oh, and actually I was able to finance it too on the Vintage King card. So all of those things made it worth the extra $300 to me. But so let's say you could find 2 of these, and they're designed to link. So you've got 16 channels now of this, and with 2 of these you've got 4 stereo effects returns. So now you're really in business. So right there you've got a 16 channel console. All right, so you've got no mic pre's, you've got no equalizers, but you've spent under $5,000 for 16 channels of summing with faders, mutes, pans, aux sends, inserts, the whole 9 yards. And also it's worth mentioning, the X-Desk has, trim pots on the line ends, which again, the API doesn't have. A lot of these things don't have it. That's a really great feature. And, I just recently, I ran tones through the whole system, and it was really helpful to have those to calibrate levels sending to my inserts. So we've got 16 channels of summing. We're under $5,000, right? Best case scenario, maybe you spent two grand each. Maybe you're at $4,000. So not too bad, right? So now you need mic preamps. Let's say 16, right? Now there's tons and tons of options. Again, I want to hear what people have to say, but my first thought was actually the Focusrite 828. I think, in my opinion, this is one of the most undersung pieces of gear in audio. It really is. It's a fantastic piece. You know, I don't need to go over the, I mean, you can go look it up, and, you know, but the ISA line, the ISA 110 preamp, developed by Rupert Neve for Focusrite, you know, is sort of, it's the original DNA for this piece. But it's 8 channels in a single unit, and it has more impedance flexibility than almost any other preamp I'm aware of. The highest impedance is up around 5K ohms, I think, which I have never found in any other mic pre that I've seen. It's more than any other one I own, which means, you know, you can plug vintage ribbon mic into it and have a good impedance match, you know, directly. It's got a ton of gain. I think it's got 70 dB of gain. If you have to hit another button to go up to the higher gain. 4 DIs, inserts, and on top of all of that, you can put a converter in it, and it's a great converter too. I mean, it's actually a funny point. Focusrite's R&D on the digital end is actually extraordinary. I think that has to do with the same people that developed Dante as a format. But yeah, the converters that they sell for both this and the 4-channel version are actually extraordinary. I'm talking over talking. They're very high quality. So anyway, but even if you don't do that, even if you just keep them analog, so the question becomes, like, what can you pay for this? 10 years ago, I paid $2,000 for this, and that was a good deal back then. They were listing for $2,500. They've actually gone up. Now they're listing for like $29.99, I think. But, you know, I still see a couple of used pieces on Reverb for under $2,000. This thing is built like a tank. I have never had a crackle, a scratch, or anything on this unit ever. And so I would actually feel very confident in buying this piece used. But let's say you paid, yeah, let's call it $2,500, right? So $5,000 for 16 channels of this preamp. Again, like I said, you're buying 16 of the same flavor, but I'm just trying to get the cost under 20. And then we can talk about maybe other choices. But if we're talking 8 channels for $2,500 with transformers, these have the Lin Hall transformers. They're fantastic. You know, that's a really good deal. So, you know, let's say round the SSLs up and those down. Let's call it 10,000 for 16 channels of SSL, 16 channels of that. You've got your preamps and you've got your board, all right, at 10,000. So you're gonna get so with the thing I was speccing was a great deal right now on an equalizer is SSL just cut their prices dramatically on the E series, on the 500 series E channel equalizer. They're selling that brand new now for $6.99 a channel. You know, 16 of those would be like, what, 11.2, something like that. So that's a choice, that's a solution. You can also get 560s sometimes for close to that price, so that's another option too. You know, you can mix and match, but let's call it 11,000 on equalizers, and then you can work that out. There's so many options. There's cappies, there's, you know, again, the 560s, the SSLs. There's so many choices out there. You know, so again, love to hear what people are doing with it, but everything I just mentioned, I think, is a premium choice, and I think you'd be fine. You'd be doing really, really well. And in my opinion, better than if you bought a full console like the Audient, put it that way. So there we are at like 21,000 for 16 channels, SSL summing, you know, transformer-based high-quality preamps, and premium equalization on inserts. And then, you know, so what I would add to that, I would get the SSL bus compressor and the Violet EQ. That EQ, they just cut that dramatically. That's $500 for a stereo equalizer. And they cut the compressor to $1,200. So, you know, okay, fine. An extra $1,700 to get your bus processing, to get a Violet EQ and an SSL bus compressor on an SSL console system. You know, I think you're killing at that point. I think that's phenomenal. And the quality of that system is outrageous. You know, even if, say, you only got 8 of the Focusrites and spent a little more, maybe you got a 3124 API, maybe you got it used, you saved some money there. You know, mix and match, get a few different flavors. But you know, it's amazing what you can put together. Let's put it this way, for under 25,000. And now, okay, here's a big one. People, and I'm sure I would get comments on this, which is, why don't you just buy an XL desk? Well, you know, 20 grand unloaded, right? Pretty much unloaded. It's more than the API, and less flexible than the system I just described. Honestly, it really is. You know, with what I just described, you can assign anything to anything. You know, you got really wide open flexibility. There's no difference in any of your channels. They're all exactly the same in terms of, you know, their abilities and what can be patched to them. I don't know. And you got 4 stereo returns. I don't remember what the XL desk has, but you know, I'm not saying that it's necessary. It's, you know, that's a slam dunk. You can make the argument. You can make the argument that the XL desk might be the better way to go there, but I don't know. One of the main reasons I would say no is, for me personally, I don't want the 8 SSL mic pre's that would come with the XL desk. So boom, right there. That's, you know, that's an issue. Like, I would rather have those any day of the week, and or, you know, any number of other mic pre's. So yeah, it's an interesting what if, but that's my spec system for between 20 and 25. It is, you know, 2 of those and 16 pre's, 16 EQs, bus processing. And you know, the other thing about it is the expandability. You know, you can put a 3rd one on here. You can actually put up to 4. And they link. And so, like, your aux sends will all be on the same bus, etc. So, you know, expandability, portability, you know, if you have to run somewhere for the weekend, you can just grab one of them, you know, and all you got to do is undo a couple of DB25s in the back. It's an interesting proposition, and if you built the right kind of desk to house it, it could look good. So that's my daydreaming. Tell me yours, you know, leave them in the comments, and you know, it's all very interesting. The other point that was interesting, last one, is that I do believe, I have to double check on this, but that the 828 has inserts, right? So you can insert an EQ or whatever, and then I'm not sure where the Lintal transformer hits, if it's on the input or the output. I would imagine the output, but not sure. But it'd be interesting if you could do the insert prior to hitting that transformer, leaving the device. That would be cool. But either way, if you've got an insert there, and then you've got inserts here, 2 insert points per channel all of a sudden, that gets real interesting too. So yeah, I think this is it's fun. It's fun to think of these things. All right, take care, everybody. Have a wonderful week. I don't know what days anymore. I have kids and there's a holiday and everything. Have a wonderful week. And again, drop your setup from 20 to 25,000. Let's call it there. Let's give it that range. Okay. All right. Take care. Bye. Oh, wait, there's more. It's just like a Marvel movie. There's a post-credit scene. I totally forgot. There's a fun little story I wanted to tell real quick. During the pandemic, I had a band come in. They were an Allman Brothers cover band. They're called Live at the Fillmore. They're great. They're a great Allman Brothers cover band. And they were hired by Raymond James. Is that right? Or Raymond somebody? I think it's Raymond James, investment bank, to do a live stream to like their remote Christmas party. This was right when the pandemic had first just hit. And so we had video and we had audio, multi-track audio going out live over Zoom. It was the technical nightmare, but I figured it out. I made it work. And they brought in an engineer to mix the audio, which I was thrilled with because there was so much to worry about anyway. It was like great. And then when I found out who they brought in, I was really thrilled. So they brought in a guy by the name of Fletcher, who, if you're an old coot like me, Fletcher's been around for years, and he famously started Mercenary Audio in Boston, who were fantastic pro audio dealers back in the day. And he consulted on a lot of Great River products, or at least their main mic preamp. You can see right there. Let me see if I can get it not blurry. There you go, Mercenary Audio. Yeah, so he had worked with Dan Kennedy on the Great River preamps. And Fletcher was also very famous for being, very outspoken on the early Wild West days of the internet. He was very funny, actually. He was acerbic, you might even call him. He was very opinionated, and it was very entertaining to read his writing online. So I was really interested to meet him and see him work, and so he came, and man, he was the nicest guy ever. Like, I don't mean to ruin his carefully crafted image, but he was the sweetest guy in the world. And he was also it was amazing to work with him. I felt bad when he came. I had literally just put in my first TT patch bay, and it was, when you first put in a bay, like I hadn't had a chance to even, QC it. And so it was a bit of a nightmare, but he was a trooper and he put up with, the bullshit, and excuse me the language. But anyway, the point of the story is, when he came, I had a lot of choices with preamps. I had at least 4 API 512Cs. I had 4 of the BAE 1073 MPs, and he made a beeline for these. And that's why I wanted to tell the story, because at the time, I owned them, and they were getting short shrift from me. The Focusrites, they're funny in a way, because they have the Lin-Hall transformers, but I would characterize their sound as unusually transparent for a transformer-based preamp. Now, you can push the transformer and you can get more color out of them, but they are not a 1073 Neve, or for that matter, even an API in that regard. But they're incredibly, they're really good sounding. They have high headroom. They're big sounding. But I was using them as kind of like, not spill channels, but toms, and I wasn't putting them on mission critical stuff. And then Fletcher came in, And, you know, the first 8 channels, like, you know, he went right for those. And I found that fascinating. And I mean, he just completely, you know, I was like, you know, I got 4 APIs. He was like, yeah. And he went right to the Focusrites. So, you know, and respect, you know, he did a great job. The thing sounded great. Everybody was happy. He changed my perspective a bit on the Focusrite. And it really is a fantastic piece. And, you know, I really don't think it gets the respect that it deserves. I think people who scrape up the money to get the 1-channel unit, you know, see the quality in it. And, you know, and it's, you know, if you're going from, you know, a cheap interface that happens to have, you know, really clean transistor, you know, no transformer mic pre's, and then you get the single channel Focusrite, you know, it blows your hair back, and you're like, wow, this is really the, you know, a lot better. But if even, you know, even when you get into the point where it's like, okay, I pretty much have anything I want, it's still competitive. It's still a great choice. It's just a phenomenal piece. And, you know, anybody that is treating it like, you know, a second-class citizen, even if you own it already, give it another look, give it another try, push it a little bit. It really is, it's a great piece. And you know, I'm grateful that Fletcher was in my studio, and I got to see that happen. You know, so I got to learn something that day. So that's the post-credit scene. All right, take care. Bye, guys.